everybody, to Bobbo's World Interviews. I'm going to be interviewing Xenia. She's at xeniadidthat and on all the socials. She is a Jill of all trades. She does everything. She does commentating in wrestling. She does a manager. She's online. She's on YouTube. She does fashion blogs. She does unboxings, so she's a big influence for me. I'm glad I got to hook up with her in this interview because it's basically what I want to do and grow to where she's at, because I don't want to stay in one lane. I want to do everything. So I think it's really cool that she's doing that, and her and everything else she does is really great. So check out the interview. All right. How are you today, Xenia?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you coming on for Bobbo's World interview.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's get started. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Russia. I'm
Mhm.
actually half Russian, half Romanian. So if I go way into it, I grew up part-time in Russia, part-time in Spain, but mostly in Russia. And my wrestling journey also began kind of all over Europe. I found it in the UK when my mom had worked there. I was just flipping through the channel, stumbled upon WWE. I guess that's how it happens to a lot of people. But I did start my content and wrestling journey in Russia, back in Russia.
That's cool. So can you speak Russian and Spanish and all that?
Yes, yes, I speak three
Nice.
three languages. I like to say 3.1 because I do know some words in Romanian, but I wouldn't go as far as saying I speak Romanian. But let's just say three to be safe.
Yeah. It seems like people overseas learn more languages than we do here in America.
I guess so. Like when I tell people here that they speak three languages, they're like impressed, which
Mhm.
back in Europe, that's not very impressive. Like that's just something that a lot of people can do or speak.
That's really cool. So how did you like growing up in Russia and Spain?
I mean, it was definitely a cultural experience. I grew up traveling a lot, which I'm very thankful for. I feel like I had this opportunity, which a lot of people don't have, to absorb a lot of cultures, to learn a lot of things, to talk to different people, and to be surrounded by all kinds of different people all the time. So I was never confined to a bubble. And I think maybe that's why now I'm, if I do say so myself, good with people and good with understanding different people's different journeys and backgrounds and accounting for that in my work. So uh, I'm definitely lucky in a lot of senses. I did grow up all over the place and surrounded by all kinds of amazing people.
That's cool. So you got to kind of travel the world.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. So where did you go to college for your master's degree?
Yeah, that was also back at home, back in Russia, but I actually
University.
went to an international university. So my degree is international. And even when I was writing my thesis for my master's degree, I had to write like an English version, an English
Oh, okay.
summary, and present it in English and do everything. So that's part of the reason why I speak English as well as I do. Um, but the other part of the reason is definitely wrestling. Like I started watching wrestling when I was 11, and I barely knew English then. So when I did start watching WWE in the UK, that was pretty obviously in English, and I barely had any idea of what was going on. And I just so badly wanted to understand and to be able to
Mhm.
absorb it more and better that it became the reason why I became so attracted and driven to languages in the first place.
That's cool. Might not be the with wrestling, there's some stuff on there that you might not want to learn in English.
I think when it comes to learning languages, it comes to a point where, with my English, for example, again, I do have an accent, but I have pretty much a 99.9% comprehension. Like, I think in English, I have dreams in English, so I've absorbed it pretty well, if I do say so myself. And it comes to a point where you want to learn everything, anything,
Yeah.
like even the stupidest things, even like the most slangy things, the most like maybe unpalatable things. Like it comes to a point where you want to know all of it. And wrestling, again, is such a good thing to learn an actual like spoken language. It's not an
Yeah.
academic English, it's not BBC English, it's not standard, you know? So I think it also helped me immerse myself into the world of English as well.
That's good. And their promos are so like flowing too. So it's a easy, that's a good
Yeah.
way to learn instead of the like spot runs fast kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. And now that you
Yeah.
say that, my other passion and something that I'm really good at, I think, is public speaking.
Mhm.
And now that you say that, maybe it's also something that I kind of sort of got from wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, their promos are, some of the promos are incredible. So it
Mhm.
makes sense. So you have your master's in new media.
Yes, new
Explain what
media
that
and
means.
yeah, new media and strategic communications. So, new
Mhm.
media is pretty much all kinds of new media, well, duh, but that means any kind of media outside of the traditional media. The traditional media
Mhm.
being television, radio, print. So anything that's been around since the rise of media is something that's a part of society. So anything digital, anything augmented reality, anything online, anything cloud-based. So any kind of new ways of conveying information, and the strategic communications part of it is actually something that helps me a lot in what I do right now. It's more about seeing the bigger picture as opposed to just using social media or digital media as a short lived tool. You're learning to see it as something that can be a part of a business or a part of a business's strategy that can lift it to new heights and that can help promote it and that can bring long term results as opposed to just using it when you're using it scrolling on your phone or just being not very mindful about it. So a big part of it is strategy, a big part of it is business development.
Mhm. Did you get into like the AI or any of that stuff?
I keep an eye on it. It's
Yeah.
not something that I use for generative purposes a lot. I
Okay.
do like real designers, I do like real artists, and all of my merch, all of my logos, everything is designed by real people. Some of
Yeah.
it is designed by me. I dabble into Photoshop. Some of it is designed by my artist friends. A really good friend is Kato, who works for AW right now and has done designs for a lot of AW wrestlers. Another person is Twilight Palms. Angie, also a good friend, also has done a lot of designs for EW people. So that part of it, yes, absolutely. But then you have to keep an eye on it as a tool and as a something that augments your experience as opposed to completely substituting a human, right? There's a lot of AI tools that Instagram offers now, for example, a lot of AI tools that X offers, that Google offers. So it's something that you need to keep in mind because if you don't, you're just going to lose steam. You're just going to get
Mhm.
surpassed by other people who do use it. And I use it for translations. I think that's an amazing tool for
Yeah.
translations, um, for proofreading, for this kind of stuff. So, like I said, it's a good tool, not a good substitution for an entire profession. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, where that line lies.
I agree with that. Yeah. There's some, I mean, there's some stuff out there that you think is real and it's not. So yeah, I agree with that. So you do everything in wrestling content to fashion to food, etc. What got you
Everything.
into all of the stuff? I mean, it's such a varied aspect of content.
Yeah, I think when it comes to creating content, and I did start as a traditional blogger, so that was
Hmm.
something that I started out as. I was a YouTuber, I was a blogger on Instagram. I was working a lot locally with local restaurants, local brands, local wrestlers as well. I think when it comes to creating content, it depends on the person where you decide to draw that line between
Hmm.
this is my personal life and this is what I'm sharing on the internet. And I
Yeah.
always tell my clients that whatever you decide in that regard is perfectly fine and can be worked with and worked around as long as you decide, as long as you make
Hmm.
this decision and you're clear with it in your head. But when it comes to me, I've just been doing it for a really long time. And again, I'm a millennial, and uh, contrary to a popular belief, millennials are the most tech savvy generation. We are more tech savvy than Zoomers. We are more tech savvy than Alpha generation. Because why? Because Zoomers grew up with the for you mentality. So they
Mm-hmm.
have all these for you pages, they have all these algorithms, they can't do research or they're not as good at it, they can't type on a computer, they have trouble working with documents. So it's not their fault at all, but it's just something that they grew up with in their new reality. So me being super online, as I've always been, I just kind of never really try to hide any parts of me or any parts of my life outside of the super personal stuff like relationships or family situations, right? um and the reason why my content is so miscellaneous and why I post all of those things is because that's everything that makes up my character. It's everything that makes up my life. So am I a wrestling fan? Yes. Am I a new media expert? Yes. But I also like fashion. I also dress a certain way. I also get my hair, my lashes, my nails done a certain way. I also love food. I always tell people that food is my second biggest love after wrestling. I'm a huge
Mm-hmm.
foodie, and for me, it's a way to experience different cultures as I travel, and I love traveling. So for me, it's just all those things that make me me. And it's just always been natural for me to share all of it.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's what connected me with you is like I really like how you do all of it because I've always been told, oh, pick your lane and stay in it kind of thing. And I love the unboxings. I love the like movie reviews or interviews or anything like that. And I want to do it all, not just one thing. So it's cool to see how you're succeeding with it all, everything.
Thank you. And I think it's good to pick a niche, but with wrestling especially, we have to account for how there's so many overlaps. Like
Yeah.
wrestling overlaps majorly with fashion. Wrestling overlaps majorly with video games, with stand-up, with movies. And as long
Mhm.
as you're doing it consciously and you're understanding that there's this overlap in audiences and that's what you're trying to reach, you can combine those things perfectly fine.
Right. I mean, fashion, look at Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
His
right. I mean, yeah.
his gear is wild. So how is it being you also are doing like wrestling managing and commentating and stuff. How is it being a wrestling manager?
Honestly, it's great. I recently heard someone say that if you're a wrestling manager and you don't bump, you're a valet, which I don't necessarily agree with that categorizing of it. I think the difference between the two is more in the power dynamic, as
Hmm.
in like a valet helps a wrestler, helps hold up a wrestler, but the manager can grab and elevate a wrestler. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had in WWE even valets who did bump. You know, when
Hmm.
Maurice valeted Ted DiBiase Jr. or when Summer Rae valeted Fandango, like those were valets that very much bumped. Um, but it's great. I think it's a great addition to the industry, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize is an important part of it. But there's so many hats that you can wear as a manager. You can elevate someone's character, you can bridge the differences between different wrestlers who are in a faction or in a team. You can help someone by being a mouthpiece, someone who maybe struggles on the microphone,
Hmm.
or maybe if they don't struggle, you can elevate the importance of when they do speak. Like you serve as this almost buffer between them and the outside world, and when they actually decide to speak and do it themselves, it's even more so special. I think it's a super important role in wrestling, and I think we are in a time again where finally people, fans, decision makers are beginning to recognize the importance of that, and we have a lot of great managers in the scene right now.
Yeah, I always think of like whenever people talk about managers and like, oh, they're not as useful. I mean, take Paul Heyman out of the wrestling business, and then
And there's a
what do you
gaping
have?
hole. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
definitely.
he's the greatest. I mean, he elevates everybody that he had. He created a company. I mean, it's he's amazing. So yeah, managers really do a lot. Um, how do you get all your connections and everything through with your interviews? How did you go about doing that? Did you just cold call or do you have the connections already or how did you do it?
Yeah, it's almost like with building any kind of database, first you
Mhm.
work for it and then it works for you.
Yep.
So obviously, when I first started, I started local, and that's something that I advise a lot of up and coming interviewers to do. If you don't know where to start, literally just come to your local promotion and be like, "Hey, here's my camera, here's my microphone, let me do this for you," and that's how you get the experience, that's how you get the reps, as we call them, and that's how you start meeting people. But then the other side of that moon, right, is social media. Again, everything comes back to it. Any topic comes back to it, because you are your own manager in that regard.
Pretty
It's
much.
your
Yeah.
job, and it's on you to get that exposure and to get seen, because ultimately, uh, though it is beneficial to a promotion if you get that exposure, a lot of promotions don't realize that, and a lot of promotions concentrate on their own thing, and they're not going to
Mhm.
look out for you necessarily, especially if you're just starting. So it is on you. And a lot of the time when I was just starting, and when I got some of my like first bigger interviews with more known wrestlers, it was that cold calling, like you said, or cold emailing or cold messaging. And sometimes I've gotten like a yes from someone that I never thought would even message me back. And you'd be surprised how many people are actually nice people and are willing to help, or are willing to not say no to any kind of publicity, maybe even if you're small, even if you don't have that many subscribers. But then once you start doing that, once you develop a body of work, that body of work starts speaking for you. So
Yep.
now for me, a regular occurrences, I approach a wrestler, introduce myself, and they go, "I know you." And from then, it's easier to hold that conversation, because
Yep.
they know what I'm about, they know my deal, they've seen my work maybe. So it's definitely about reaching that peak where you become recognizable, and then it gets easier from there. But yeah, just start doing it, just start meeting people, start getting out there, and start utilizing social media to your advantage. Like, don't think it's this addition that maybe you can do later. No, that is your bread and butter. I always
Yep.
tell people, to my clients or my prospective clients, you might not know that, but you're in sales. We're all in
Yeah.
sales. So
Yep.
that's your number one job. Being a wrestler, an interviewer, or a broadcaster is your number two job. Your number one job is sales.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Um, yeah, it is interesting to see who will actually say yes out of nowhere. And like I just spoke to Cody or Preston Vance,
Hmm.
and I mean he was couldn't be nicer of a human being. And I was just like, really? You want to talk to me? Um, but it is cool to think and just put yourself out there, like you say. So you do unboxings as well, like I do.
I
What
do.
do you like to unbox?
Oh, a lot of things. Like when I first started, it was mostly wrestling figures.
Hmm.
And I haven't done a wrestling figure unboxing in a while, for various reasons. Reason number one is because now I concentrate more on my media work. But reason number
Hmm.
two is because now I barely unbox them. Because I'm sure when you become a collector, you start being more careful about what you
Yeah.
unbox, what you keep mint. Like it's a whole thing. But I'm still a collector. I have over 300, I think, wrestling figures, maybe more now. I used to keep a list, not anymore. It's just too difficult to keep track. I also am working with Wrestling Crate. I know you're wearing a Wrestling Crate shirt
Yeah.
right now. I have this
Yeah.
exact same shirt, and I
Mhm.
have my code did that for 20% off of your first crate. Uh, so that's also a great company. This collaboration has been wonderful, and those crates are always so exciting because
Yeah.
you never know what you get. It's like a box of chocolates. And when I was living back in Europe, I mean back in Russia before the whole thing. Um, I was working with Wrestle Crate UK as well. So I'm familiar with wrestling crates and have been for a while. So yeah, it's all that, but then all of that translates to other spheres of what I do as well. So it's fashion as well, and it's beauty as well. And I've done reviews and unboxings of like personalized beauty routines, or just new beauty
Nice.
products, or fashion items. So everything, anything. I just love a box. I'm like a cat. I love
Yeah.
a box.
I'm the same way. I love when a box comes to my doorstep. I'm like, yes, let's go.
Right? It's an exciting
Yeah,
feeling.
I like doing do you do any of the Funko Pops? Because I like the Funko Pops because technically you can unbox them and put them back and they're
Right.
still boxed. I
I
guess.
like Funko Pops. Yeah, I'm not like a Funko Pop collector. I have some friends who have thousands of them
Yeah.
and have an app to keep track and everything. I'm not like that. With Funko Pops, I try to keep myself in check. I try to only get those where I'm really a fan of that
Yeah.
fandom or that product or that person specifically. So, the ones that I do have are like Post Malone or Fall Out
Okay.
Boy, or obviously some wrestling ones like a Cody one or Hardy Boys. Like if I'm really, really a fan, I have a bunch of SpongeBob ones as well. So for me, that's only when I like actually really need it, not just like anything and everything. When it comes to wrestling figures, I used to be a big Mattel fan, and obviously that's one of the flagship like products brands. Now I'm leaning more towards retro stuff. Like I do enjoy the current AEW figures a lot,
Hmm.
and if I am buying something modern, it's usually the Jazzwares AW figures. But I love vintage stuff. I love Jack Specific. It's really rare, I'm sure you know, that you find like a mint on card Jack Specific. So it's a rush when you do, especially like pre 2000s. It's amazing. I do love independent figure brands. I love Zombie Sailor, even though I only have one figure from him because they're so hard to get. Um, I love Figure Toy Company, and those are another ones where you can take it out of the box and you don't have to worry. You
Yeah.
can put it right back in. I do love Super 7 a lot. I love their New Japan figures. I've been to the flagship store in San Francisco. It's great. It's amazing. I didn't buy anything wrestling related that time because it was during a big wrestling weekend, so everything wrestling was sold out. But I bought some SpongeBob stuff there. You probably noticed I'm a SpongeBob fan by now. But I love independent stuff. I love vintage stuff. I love Mexican Mercado figures, like the bootleg,
Yeah.
the handmade, the customs. I love all of that. I think when you get way like invested into something, you develop this like weird niche outlook, and you're like,
Hmm.
no, I'm looking for this specific thing. One of my
Yeah.
absolute favorite figures that I own is Heavy Crate Champion. Those were like the micro brawlers of the Wrestle Crate UK realm.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's a Heavy Crate Champion of Car Noir, who is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers, possibly ever. And that level of detailing that's similar to micro brawlers, which I do have a lot of those as well. I love
Hmm.
a minifigure. Um, just that level of detailing where there's barely a face, but there's feathers on the cape. Like, I don't know, it just scratches an itch
Yeah.
in my brain. I love it so much. I wanted to get him to sign it, but then every time I see him, I don't have it on hand and I don't bring it to a show. Because last time I saw him at the show was in London at a Progress show, I think. And it was him actually coming back from surgery, coming back from the injury
Yeah.
that he had. So there was no way for me to know that he would actually be there. So I didn't bring it again, but hopefully eventually I will get it signed.
I'm sure you will. That's good. Yeah. I also like who was it that sent the Diamond Select
Mm,
toys sent me this Jericho like diorama thing where he's on the entrance
yeah.
ramp oh, it's so cool.
AEW just released a new Brian Danielson diorama figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't ask me about figures. I will ramble for
Yeah.
for hours on end. Like that's just one of the topics where I can just talk nonstop.
Jazz Whiz is really good. I really
It
like Jazz.
really is.
I'm glad they came around.
It's one thing
So
that like wouldn't let me sleep at night. The fact that Jazzwares makes both AEW figures and Squishmallows, and I love both. And like my biggest dream is AEW Squishmallows, and it's something that I've tried to like put into the universe. So maybe one day
I didn't know Jazzwares did Squishmallows.
they do. Yeah, when I found
Really?
out, I was flabbergasted.
My nieces and nephew love those things.
See?
Yeah, that'd be cool. AEW Squishmallow. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think AEW
Uh,
should be doing more with their merch. They should be doing more with their figures. We just recently got the U2's
yeah,
collaboration, and
yeah.
it looks so good. And the black and white Tony Storm is just
Oh,
feels so right.
yeah,
So I honestly believe they should be doing more with their toy range, with their figure range, because um, I feel like almost it's lacking those like middle ground products. Like we have
yeah,
the elite equivalent, right? We have the unmatched, we have the unrestricted, we have the interchangeable heads, like more detailed figures, which are amazing and I love them. But then the U2s don't really encapsulate that market of like a smaller, simpler figure that's
Hmm.
maybe for children, maybe for collectors of that specific brand. And then we don't really have that luxury segment
Yep.
where we do get the dioramas, which I think are great, but again, for me, they don't really scratch that itch of like a premium figure. I would love like a fig arts or like
Yeah.
some like a larger scale statue, something. So I think there's
Yeah.
definitely room for AW to expand on that merch selection that they have.
I agree with that. I want the U2s really bad.
Yeah,
Those look so cool. So how do you like you also do commentating wrestling?
I
You're
do.
jack of all trades. What do you like about commentating?
I am a jack of all trades, Jill of all trades.
The all
uh,
trades.
I like I do color commentary mostly, so I like
Mhm.
being a character, you know. I like adding to the product, and I think that's the main purpose of commentary, and that's why it really blows my mind when people either watch without commentary or don't really pay attention to it or don't really necessarily include in their perception of the product what was said in commentary. Because, for example, with AW, right, sometimes we'll see a debut and people will complain on the internet about how, oh, I don't know who this is, why did they give us
Mhm.
background, while they're tweeting this, while the commentary team is given an extensive
Yeah.
background. And that's exactly what they're there for. And I'm a big believer again in doing your research and being educated on what kind of wrestlers are on the screen. What are you talking about? You know, you have to know. You can't mix up names. You can't not know who's in the ring. Very good friend of mine actually got me into commentary, and he used to do commentary, like Russian commentary, when it was on Russian TV for Lucha Underground,
Oh
which
wow.
is amazing. And he got me into commentary. First, I was doing it for my local promotion, but I was doing it in English because they were, you know, posting it on Facebook, posting their episodes on YouTube with English commentary. So that's where I started. But then I was doing commentary for that friend's website of AEW shows.
Oh
And
wow.
that's where I got the most experience because I started with AW Dark. And
Oh yeah.
it
Yeah.
expanded from being like a 30-minute show to like a 2-hour show. So I had to really quickly learn to have that longevity and to have that
Mhm.
energy and to keep a certain level of energy because you can't wilt by the end of it, right?
Oh,
And it also helped my outlook on wrestling a lot because that's where I found and did my research and got acquainted with a lot of wrestlers who now went on to do bigger things, who are now signed or who are now, you know, more famous in their local scene. And I've ended up in the same local scene as some of them in Florida.
yep.
So it's something that definitely also helped me establish those connections that we were talking about earlier and establish that familiarity. So I love doing it. I don't get to do it as often as I wish I did. So I'm open for it. Call me promotions.
Hit
I'll
me
do
up.
color commentary for you. Hit me up.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, commentating, I really listen to it. It's funny when I watch I'm a Boston native, but I live in New
Yeah.
Orleans. When I listen to the Boston Celtics play, I'll be watching it with my dad and I'll be like, "Oh, that was a great call" or whatever. My dad would be like, "What? Huh?" I'm like, "You're not listening?
Like
Like
it's a
you got to
part of the
listen."
experience. It's almost like watching a movie with subtitles and without sound. Like
Yeah.
it's exactly that. And you wouldn't do that. So why would you do that with wrestling or sports, you know?
So, what do you like most about when you do the fashion and beauty stuff? Do you like the makeup? Do you like trying on clothes, all that stuff?
I like kind of all of the above. I
Yeah.
think I do have a soft spot for bags. It's something that I'm definitely very interested in. I think I would be a shoe girly, but it's hard with like the sizes and you can't really necessarily order it online. But I
Mhm.
feel like with bags, it's a more universal experience. But I think what really draws me to all of that is the self-expression.
Yeah.
I feel like I had like almost like a journey coming to that and coming to terms with that because I remember being like a pretty reserved child and
Hmm.
weirdly because my mom is a designer so she
Oh
would
wow.
always dress me nicely. Like it was never like I was never the, you know, dark horse. Like I was always dressed nicely. But I feel like I only got this like agency over what I wear in my early 20s. I just realized at some point that I was just kind of coasting. I was just kind of wearing whatever felt comfortable or whatever I had, in my closet, didn't really give it much thought. And then some point I caught myself thinking that like I wish I could look cute every day. I wish I could be picture ready every day. I wish it wasn't like a
Mhm.
special occasion where I actually like the way you look. And I realized that just like anything in this world, it has to be a conscious effort if you want to do that, if you
Yeah.
want to be that. And it was a whole realization that blew my mind. And at some point, literally, like in a day, I was like, okay, I'm going to be more mindful of what I look like now because I need to like what I look like. Because it was important for me, like any girl probably growing up in the world that has all these beauty standards, that has all these expectations, that forces you to compare yourself to people around you,
Yeah.
to people on the screen. And do I wish we were free of all that? 100%, absolutely, but we're not. um, so at some point, I just realized that it was important to me what I looked like, and it's important to me that my hair is down and it's done nicely, and not just in some ratty ponytail. I realized that it is important for me that I look cute every day. So that was something that had to be like a whole realization, a whole thing for me.
That's good. Yeah. I need to get better at that. I just want to be comfortable.
No, I honestly have massive respect for people who don't care about it, and especially women who don't care about it, because in our world, in our patriarchal society, it is a protest to not care what you look like as a woman.
Mm.
Like, even if you don't want it to be, unfortunately, it is. And it just takes so much bravery, and it takes so much agency, and it takes so much independence to be able to do that. So I by no means would I ever impose what I look like on other people or what I
Yeah.
choose to do with my hair, with my nails, or with my body, or whatever it may be, right? I talk about beauty standards a lot. I talk about body positivity. I talk about adaptive beauty practices. And it's something that I do get hate comments for because I understand the juxtaposition. It is weird.
Mhm.
Like I have my hair extensions, I have my nails, I have my lash extensions, and I'm on camera talking about how getting acrylic nails is an adaptive beauty practice that's imposed by the patriarchal society that's harmful to your health. And it is, and I'm doing that while having those same nails on. So I
Yeah.
get the reaction, but ultimately, you live in a society, you live in the world, and you are free to pick and choose things that you want or don't want to do. And both things can be true. You can realize that liking long nails is not an independent, isolated thought that just occurred to you. You can
Yeah.
realize that it's something that the society wants you to do, but you can also, as an adult, as an active member of society, make an active decision to be like, yeah, I know that, but I would still like to do that.
That's good. I like the body positivity and all that. That's great. Um, so when did you said you first saw wrestling when you were like 11, 12 in
Yes,
Russia?
11 years. In
Okay.
England, actually.
Oh, in England. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember like who you saw on the TV?
I get that question all the time, and I genuinely
Yeah.
don't remember. Like some people remember like the very first match that they saw. I don't. I just remember generally that it was SmackDown,
Yeah.
and it was around the time where Batista was like the main guy,
Oh,
and I saw a lot of The Miz, who is still a favorite. I saw a lot of Kofi Kingston, who was the favorite back then. I remember seeing, Edge around that same time. Obviously John Cena, Randy Orton, so all of those greats of that time and our current time as well.
was Kingston still with the fake Jamaican accent?
I think so. I think it was still that shtick. But I wouldn't know because I didn't speak English, so
Yeah.
it could have been
No, that
saying anything.
I was just thinking of that because remember when CM Punk came back, he bumped into Kofi Kingston and he was like,
Yeah,
"Did
yeah,
you be Jamaican?"
yeah.
It was like the best line.
Yeah. No, I'm glad
Because of
Coffee now gets to embrace his like actual background, so good for
yeah,
him.
yeah, Boston. Um, yeah, so do you like I ask everybody this because I know it's a hot topic online, but do you like
Okay.
all wrestling? Like I know there's a whole like AEW versus WWE
Right.
thing, which I think is dumb, but
Yes and no.
yeah.
I think again, it's something that's a part of what I do and a part of my job. is
Mm-hmm.
I keep an open mind to all
Right.
wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm willing and ready to consume all kinds of wrestling. And I
Okay.
do like different kinds of wrestling. Like I like the, Western slash American wrestling. I like lucha. I like deathmatch wrestling. I like Japanese wrestling with strong style. Like I like a blanket statement would be I like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there's going to be some things that you like more and some things that you don't like as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have favorites, favorite wrestlers or favorite
Yeah.
promotions or favorite styles. Like, to me, I do like a little bit of a more sports heavy product, uh, and a little bit more of a wrestling dense TV hour. Like, I don't necessarily love like the sports entertainment aspect of it. Like obviously it's part of it, and I hate that I even have to say it like it's a separate thing, because ultimately from what I've kind of learned and established in my mind in those years doing wrestling as a profession, right, is wrestling is sports entertainment. Like
Yeah.
that's the definition of wrestling. It's not a sport and it's not fully a theater performance. Wrestling
Right.
is sports entertainment, but that's something, that's a term that now got kind of stuck to a specific type of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have to say it like that. But I'm open to everything, anything. And I think part of it and part of the reason why is because I didn't grow up around a lot of variety and I didn't grow up around a lot of live wrestling. I
Mm-hmm.
think my first ever live wrestling show, I was already like years into being a fan. Um, so I'm still like a little starved for it, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever there's a show in a close proximity, I will go. Like it's not a question of should I go? Am I feeling up to it? I'm always feeling up to it.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've been to over 200 shows, and that hunger still hasn't faded, and I don't think it ever will.
That's good. Yeah, I just don't like the whole like I get the favoritism of your favorite wrestlers and all that, but it bothers me when I see so many people being so like mean and
Hmm.
whatever combative about their promotion and stuff. Like you were talking about how you like the more sports stuff, but the entertainment is definitely needed. That's why I think, in my opinion, Bryan Danielson is one of the greatest of all time
For
because
sure.
within a match he can pull at your heartstrings, but he
That's
also is a great
exactly like
wrestler.
I couldn't agree more, because a lot of the time what I see on the internet, and it's usually on the internet, like you usually wouldn't see like friends sit down and argue for 2 hours about in-ring
No.
storytelling, right? Um, but one thing I see is people almost treat storytelling and wrestling as two separate things. But
Mhm.
again, no, storytelling is a part of wrestling, and
Right.
that includes in-ring action. Like that's where most of your storytelling should be.
Yep.
If to get a story across or to get the psychology across, you have to sit down or stand up and talk for 45 minutes, maybe you're not doing your part in the ring. Like, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be promos. Like, promos are great, they're an art form in their own thing, in their own self, right? But it's not a separate thing. It's not two separate things. It's something that ideally, in the perfect world, should always be intertwined. And
I agree.
just because there's a 30 or 40 or 50-minute match, it doesn't mean there's no storytelling. It means you aren't watching the match the way that you should be,
Right.
and you aren't being attentive.
Yep. I totally agree. And quickly, when you said you like deathmatch wrestling, I have to ask you, the
Okay.
Moxley versus Coach, that stabbing,
Yeah. I
how
think
did you
it's
feel?
great. I
Yeah.
I loved it. I enjoyed it. I think it made up for maybe a bit of a slower paced match that they
Yep.
had at
Yep.
Revolution. And I think them being two veterans, being two professionals, they knew that the reaction on the pay-per-view wasn't quite what they were going for.
Yep.
So they knew they had to almost overcompensate for it, and they had to
Yep.
do something outlandish, which they did. And it got that
Yeah, they did.
reaction, and it got people arguing on the internet. It got people reposting the video, and it gets millions of views. Well done. Like that's your job as a wrestler. And people don't understand that sometimes. But the worst reaction you can get as a wrestler is no reaction. Like it doesn't
Right.
matter if you're cheering or if you're booing or if you're complaining on the internet, it's a reaction. So they did their job.
I loved it because it was nothing I've seen before, and you don't get that
Yeah,
much, you know. And it was also like he was setting up for it, and I was like, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. And I thought he would like when he put him up, I was like, oh, he's going to reverse. And then he went
but
through it, and I was
no.
like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that
all those people complaining, like you just know they don't watch deathmatch. Because
no,
that's like not even close to the worst thing I've seen in the
no
wrestling
way.
ring. Not even close. Not even close to the worst thing I've seen in the wrestling ring live. Like I've seen it all. And I have humongous respect for people who put their bodies on the line like that. But also ultimately you have to understand that if it's a deathmatch wrestler, and John Moxley is ultimately a deathmatch wrestler, and I will die on that hill, that usually you see them do something wild, painful, terrible, bloody. You have to understand that they pitched it, thousand
Yeah.
percent, like no
Yep.
question about it. He was perfectly comfortable doing it, so why should you be uncomfortable?
Yeah, there's no way Tony Khan was like, you know what you should do?
Right. Or
There's
Edge was
no
like,
way.
you know what you should do?
Yeah, that is, I love the surprise stuff that because it doesn't happen as much anymore. Like Jey
Right.
Uso winning the Royal Rumble. Like I never thought that would happen and stuff, different things like that. So I thought it was great. But
Yeah. And AEW were the first promotion too to bring light tubes to national
yeah,
television when Jericho had his match with Nick Gage. Were the light tubes
Nick
gimmick?
Gage.
Unclear. But they did it. It was the first of its kind match on television. And it might have caused some mixed reactions and it might have upset a certain pizza company.
Yeah,
But it's groundbreaking. They're changing the game as we speak.
I thought that was hilarious that
That
pizza
it was
company.
too perfect of a coincidence, honestly.
Uh, anyway, so moving on, what is the biggest interview that you haven't had that you would love to have?
My dream interview is Tony Khan. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just so like I need to pick the brain of the man who changed the world of
yeah,
wrestling for the better. Like the change in landscape that has happened in the industry since AEW came along has been unmatched. They've outlived WCW. They've outlived the golden age of TNA. They're
mhm,
not succumbing to the pressure of WWE, the behemoth, the market leader. They've created employment for so many wrestlers in the industry. They've created competition when it comes to payment in the industry because WWE used to be that one place where you could make good money wrestling.
right,
And AEW has completely uprooted that system that has existed for what, a century? And
yeah,
the industry has completely changed. So that's definitely my dream interview. Like I would love to get into all that and get to the root of that, like where it started, how the idea came along, like how that shift happened where at first AEW was this alternative and everyone was so happy and everyone was like, yes, okay, we're gonna watch this. And suddenly the same disingenuous criticism that WWE used to suffer for years suddenly got projected onto AEW the second they became more commercial. Like just this whole path that this company has had in the mere 6 years that it's existed is just absolutely mind blowing.
yeah. I know. I would love to just sit down and talk wrestling with because he seemed I've seen him in interviews. He has like an encyclopedia mind of
He does.
oh
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened on this date at that time and
Yeah, like
it's
when people say like, oh, someone has a good wrestling brain, which I say a lot too, like Tony Khan is the wrestling brain. Like that's
yeah.
the definition of a wrestling brain. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
everybody that has been asked about like what drew you to AEW, they all talk about the conversation with Tony Khan and him naming off all their matches and when it happened and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Like
it's
one thing that I hear a lot from AW wrestlers, one word that they hear a lot is family. And like
yeah,
as corny as it might sound, they just feel seen in AW. They feel like they have that freedom to
yeah,
express themselves. Like they're not constricted by someone's outdated ideas or someone's harsh idea of what they should be and what they should be stripped off or what they should stop doing. Like ultimately, Tony Khan's love of wrestling manifests in taking a talent and letting them be them and letting them
Yeah.
do what they do best. And that's the recipe to success, I feel.
Yeah. And just to have your, was he like a billionaire? The boss in the back jumping up and down saying, let's effing go after like all these matches. Like it's got to make you want to run through a wall for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's appreciation. It's feeling
Yeah.
appreciated. Mm.
So other than all these things that you do on your channel and everything, what do you do to like relax and calm down or have fun or
I never relax. No, I'm kidding. I like, just normal human things. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to have good food, maybe film a reel while I'm at it, so I'm not fully relaxed again. Um, just yeah, I like to read. I like to watch movies. Just nothing like out of the ordinary. Like just a very big chunk of my life is consumed by wrestling,
yeah.
consumed by my media work, and consumed by content creation. So, and I'm not in any way complaining. It's just something that got so embedded in me. And it's
Hmm.
something that I tell my clients as well, because one of the concerns that people come to me with is, oh, but I don't want to be fake on social media, or like I don't want to lose my like personal space. I don't want to become like chained to this thing. And the reality of it is you're not. And I would never try to bend you out of shape. And I would never try to make you do something that you wouldn't naturally do or be someone that you wouldn't naturally be. It's just this additional tool. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. Like you don't become a different person when you ride the bicycle, you just get places quicker and you're yourself while you're on the bicycle. So it's just
Hmm.
something that becomes a part of your life, a part of your routine. And at a certain point, it starts to come naturally. So it's not something that I have to actively distance myself from. So whatever you see on social media, like you see me going to Epcot with my friends, you see me having fancy coffee, you see me traveling, like walking in the park, that's exactly what I do to relax.
That's good. Yeah. So we'll get to the food and movies and stuff in a second, but
Okay.
I wanted to ask you real quick because I saw it on your website and some of your posts and stuff. I love that you have a passion for inclusion and all of
I
that.
do.
That's a huge thing to me. Like I know you posted a reel, which I thank you so much for, about the upcoming auction that I
Mm-hmm.
have, the online auction, which if people don't know, it's in honor of my sister Sarah that passed away, and she was in a wheelchair, and she had a muscular dystrophy, and like when we were lucky when we grew up, we didn't see color, we didn't see disabilities, all that stuff, because we were all around it. But then you go out into the real world and
Mm-hmm.
have to see that stuff. So what brought you into that? And I appreciate that you do that.
Thank you. And I feel like it was a similar moment of, I feel like I also did grow up in a bit of a bubble in terms of how I come from a very good family. I have a lot of very good friends that I've known since I was a child. And my immediate circle has always been so accepting, so sweet, so kind, that it was never something that was a problem to me. But then, like you said, you go into the real world and suddenly it's very different. And I think part of it is also wrestling for me, because wrestling is something that's supposed to be for everyone. And it's something that so many people use as this refuge, almost something that they use to escape that harsh reality. So when that harsh reality seeps into this thing that we love so much, it really hurts people's feelings and it really damages people. And it's something that should not be happening. And part of it is my own experience as a woman. Uh, Part of it is the experiences of my friends that I can't necessarily 100% relate to, maybe as a white person, as a cis person, or, whatever it is, that the experience that I couldn't have. And that's why I try to platform the people who have had that experience for them to be able to talk about it. So it's just this sense of uh, justice, almost like the sense of what's fair and what's not, what's good and what's not. Obviously,
Mhm.
there's no, a certain like black and white in the world. Like obviously everything is a spectrum, everything is in the grayscale, right?
Yeah.
But it was just always something that I very acutely noticed because I grew up in such a kind and sweet and accepting circle, that the injustice of it was just never something that I could or wanted to overlook. So it's just something that I believe in wholeheartedly. And when people say that, like, oh, like you're interested in feminism or you like feminism, it's not something that I like. It's something that I view as like a lens, as a worldview. And I'm sure, once you see those things and once you adopt it, you can't unsee it. So you just start seeing things. You just start seeing
Yeah.
things that a lot of people don't notice, that a lot of people take as the normal, and you
Hmm.
refuse to accept it as your normal anymore. So it's just something that once you've seen it, you can't not be that anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you
Thank
standing up
you.
for that and everything. Because even if hopefully I grow and have more subscribers and all that stuff, but I'm gonna keep doing that too. Because my sister Sarah was the ultimate, I don't know what you call it, like humanitarian kind of,
Mm.
like she would accept anybody and everybody in her world. And she was so positive. Like I always tell the story, like I could say, I want to be president of the United States. And my sister Sarah would be like, all right, let's go. How do we do it? And there's no like, oh, you can't do that kind of thing. So yeah, I like that a lot. So good job on that.
Yeah, thank you. And you as well. Thank you for doing that and doing the auction and bringing awareness to all that. It's super important to do. And you're doing great work. And I'm sure she'll be proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's go to our lightning round. So first, what's your all-time favorite match?
Oh my God. You can start with that. You can ask me that. I think like it's gonna be influenced by a lot of factors what I answer. Like it's gonna be influenced by what I saw live maybe, or like what I was kind of present for, or how recent it was.
Mhm.
Um, One what that comes to mind immediately is the parking lot fight, Trent versus Chuck, when the best
Oh, yeah.
friends broke up. And there's just so many layers to it for me because they used to be, and they still are, my all-time favorite tag team. And that match was filmed at Daly's Place, which is such a significant venue for any AEW person, AEW related person. Um, and the match itself was amazing. And I like the hardcore stuff, I like the blood, I like all of that. And there were so many callbacks to their past as a tag team, and even to the match that they had years ago, in where, not Chikara, somewhere else. I can't remember, but
PWG?
yes, yes, thank you. Yes, PWG. The match that they had in PWG years ago. So, as someone who's known them, appreciated them for a long time, I just really, really appreciated that match. Um, I also enjoyed like every single Stadium Stampede a lot because I always say that my favorite genre of wrestling is tomfoolery, and that
Mhm.
was full of that. Like to me, that's what like encapsulated those like early days of AEW,
Mhm.
where it was this insane mixture of big names, up and coming stars, great wrestling, and just nonsense. Like to me, that's
Yeah.
such a perfect recipe for a wrestling promotion or a wrestling match. So I really, really enjoyed those. Yeah, let's stick with
Yeah.
that answer.
The one with the final countdown song keeps playing and
Yes, oh
everything.
my God. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it
so
was great.
good.
Another one that I was there for and was one of, again, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest matches in AEW history was the cage match, Lucha Bros with Young Bucks. That was
Yes.
insanity. That was one of the best cage matches probably ever, probably in the history of wrestling.
I didn't get that pay-per-view because I didn't have the money at the time, but I got it later on and watched it. I was like late to the party being like, oh, this match was great. But man, that match was so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was amazing.
those stadium stampedes are just wild, but they're so much fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if this is an interesting question that I ask, um, I always think about like the what ifs, like what would happen if this happened?
Okay.
What would have been your dream match if it could have happened? Like for example, mine would have been Sting versus Undertaker, but it never happened.
Hmm, good question. I think like I'm a big like fan of intergender matches.
Hmm.
So that's always something that I wish would happen. Like I wish I could see, for example, China. wrestle more of like the old time greats that we now regard as legends and that are now like in the Hall of Fame. Like I do want to see like China versus Triple H, like something like that. I would have loved to see that. And
Yeah, that would be
it's a
cool.
shame, again, going back to like the inclusion thing, like it's a shame that so many things get restricted by those outdated beliefs. And again, AW were also a bit of a pioneer in that regard when they had the mixed tag match on the Jericho Cruise the first year that it happened, with Kip Sabian, Penelope Cruz, and Kenny Omega and Riho, I think, right? Or was it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Riho, I think. Yeah.
I think so. I hope I'm not mixing people up. But the novelty of it was that they weren't really sticking to like guy versus guy, girl versus girl as much.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of intergender spots, and I know that it was an important moment for people in the company, and I know that it was a nerve-wracking moment because like how is it going to be accepted? Like how is it going to get treated? I wish they would, return to that. I wish they would do more for
Yeah.
that because sometimes a feud or a match is just so obviously needed and wanted. Like everyone wants to see like Willow versus Brody King, for example. It makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, or at the time in the storyline, it made perfect sense for it to happen, but it just can't because gender, apparently. Like I wish
Yeah.
we didn't have those restrictions.
Or Cope and Beth Phoenix if she came back to if she came
Yes.
to AEW.
Oh, that would have been amazing. Like some of the best, most like ruthless, crazy matches are between people who are like either best friends or romantically involved.
Yep.
If you saw Masha Slamovich versus Akira in the
Oh
cage,
yeah. Yeah.
they murdered each other. And that's because they love each other and because they trust each
Yeah.
other. So again, why rob yourself and your fans off of that joy,
That's good. I like that. So who you said your favorite tag team is Trent and
Chuck.
what's it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would your favorite wrestler be?
Can I name like 3 to 5 people?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so two people who are like my all-time favorites since like almost day one, have been Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, and
Oh,
The
okay.
Miz. Because those are the people who became my favorites when I was still like a young, fresh fan, and they kind of continued to be that. And I don't know how I, being a young child, right? How I kind of scoped out that this would be the kind of wrestling that I like, because they still are my favorites. And when it comes to Nick, like it's crazy how like I again later found out he's so professional, he's so talented. He does and knows so many things. He's into politics, he's into stand-up, he does all of those things incredibly well. And I've interviewed him twice, and he's a breeze to work with. Like he's so personable, professional, well spoken. It's just insane. And like he could be tired or he could be anything. He could be having a bad day, but the second the camera goes on, he just snaps into it and he's a superstar. Like I just
That's
admire
awesome.
that hugely. Um, Next person who's a newer favorite is Trent, obviously. Uh, and when I say newer, I don't mean new, because I've been following his career since WWE. A lot of people at this point don't even remember he was in WWE.
Right, right.
Um, but I was, present at the time of True Long Island story that he was a big part of, and the whole Where's Trent storyline came from there. And even though his WWE run was very brief, I guess it impressed me enough to continue following his career throughout all that time. And I think he's literally the most underrated wrestler in the world because
Yeah.
he has everything. He's a full package. He's so good in the ring. He has the look. He can talk. He doesn't often, but he has a certain style of promo that he delivers very well. Um, he's just so underrated, and I can't wait for him to come back after injury to AEW. It's been so long, so hopefully we get to see more of him soon. Um, Another favorite when it comes to women's wrestling is Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And I always like to say she's my favorite wrestler. I don't specify women's or men's because she is my freaking favorite wrestler. She's amazing. The combination of styles that she embodies is crazy. Like there's lucha in there, there's American TV wrestling in there, there's Joshi in there. And for her to even like as a blonde Canadian girl to go through that tough training process in Mexico Like
Hmm.
she's freaking hermana all the way now. Like she got through that school and she's so tough. And I've seen her do the widest range of matches. Like I've seen her wrestle a TV match for AEW, and I've seen her wrestle a death match in a barn against a guy 3 times her size. Like she can do anything. And that's another person that like I wish she was a bigger star, even a bigger star than she is right now, even though
Yeah.
she is a star already. Like she deserves all the spotlight. Yeah, so this is my answer.
Yeah, Ty is really good, and it's funny you mentioned the underrated. If I were to name the three most underrated, it would be Nick Nemeth. And I would put Cesaro in there, and I would
True.
put Brent. I agree with
Yeah,
you on those two,
absolutely.
but I would put Cesaro or Claudio in
I
there now.
agree. He's one of my favorites. Like again, I say one of my favorites about so many wrestlers because there are so many great wrestlers.
Yep.
But Claudio, he was one of my favorite, if not the favorite RH champion. I think he was
Hmm.
just so great for that role, and he really, really elevated that title.
Yep.
And in the ring and outside of it, like the way he presents himself, the way he does interviews, the way he does press scrums, the way he's dressed, the way he carries himself, he's just so polite, so like I don't know, he's just imposing. Like there's just something about him. And I agree with you. He's criminally underrated. He should be a world champion. Like
He's James Bond. That's
he
who
he
he is.
is. He's James Bond. Yeah, 100%. So I definitely agree. And
Yeah.
when it comes to Nick as well, I honestly got even more, if that was even possible, respect for him after he got released by WWE, because it's one thing to be in WWE for many, many years and to be used to WWE handling everything, handling your merch, handling your appearances, handling your shows, your schedule, everything. But even then, he was granted a certain level of independence that a lot of wrestlers in WWE don't have just because he was trusted to not do stupid things because he's a
Yeah.
smart guy and he wouldn't do it. Um, but honestly, when he got released, I remember talking to my dad about it because obviously he knows that I'm a big fan. And you know, I know both of them personally, Nick and Ryan. Like I've been to a lot of their comedy shows, and Nick, you know, has helped me with my content when he didn't have to, which I'm super thankful for. But I was talking to my dad, and I remember being like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just quit wrestling. Like if he just completely concentrated on his politics career, on his comedy career, he has all these things going for him. And I'm sure all those years of getting underbooked and under promoted and under pushed in WWE must have been disheartening. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
could have been enough to kill someone's love for wrestling, and I wouldn't blame them for that. But
Yeah.
instead, he rose like a phoenix from the ashes, and he's having some of the best matches of his career right now. And he's having all those tours and winning all those titles and appearing in all those promotions. And it's just a blast to follow. It's just a blast to
Yeah.
see. So for him to still have that love for wrestling and for him to still be at the absolute top of his game, just I respect that immensely and I admire that immensely.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. Okay, a few more. What's your favorite TV show?
Outside of wrestling,
Yeah, outside of wrestling.
my all-time favorite is probably Preacher. It's
Oh,
based on
okay.
like comic books, and I don't know why I liked it so much. I just kind of connected with it. I think like it's a mixture of all things. Like it's all great actors. It's the mystic realism that I really enjoy as a genre. It's the like American Gothic aesthetic that I really enjoy. So that's probably like an all-time favorite. Uh, Currently, I'm watching Severance. I haven't seen the finale, so don't spoil it.
I
But
haven't seen
that's
it.
one that I like. I've been waiting for the second season, and I also really like RuPaul's Drag Race. I feel like again, there's such a big overlap in wrestling and drag. Some
Mm.
promotions see that and understand that and showcase that. Some don't, but that's fine. Um, I did have a big pause. Like I watched season 1 to 7 and then kind of stopped for a while for a couple of years. But I don't know what about this current season kind of sparked my interest again. So I've been watching it again, which has been great. It's been such a great season. If any of your viewers are watching it, they'll understand like a lot of amazing competitors this season.
That's great. And what's your favorite movie?
So like an all-time favorite would be Interstate 60.
I
Uh,
don't know.
yeah, for some reason when I say it, a lot of people don't know it. I've seen it like a million times, and I think the first time I saw it was on TV, so it was something that was available, but it has a great cast. It has Gary Oldman, like,
Okay.
and I think again as a kid, what sparked my interest was again the mystic realism, which I really enjoy. But as an adult, I think there's just so many things and lessons to ponder in that movie. And it's ultimately about like it's a movie about seeking answers. Like one of the main plot lines is that the main character, it's his birthday, and he makes a wish to like a wizard for answers, and he's given like a magic 8 ball that actually answers the questions.
Oh,
I even have a tattoo of a magic 8 ball because of that movie. Let me get it. There
oh
it is.
yeah. Wow, that's cool.
And it says ask again, like as a reminder that like it's not like you never have all the answers. Like you never have the ultimate answer to life. And like the real answer is the journey. But it's a movie that's really, really impacted me, as you can tell, to the point of tattooing something on my body because of it.
So it's called Interstate 60.
Yeah,
I'll have to look it up, see if it's on streaming or anything. I'll
yeah.
have to watch it.
It's a really old movie too. It's like from the 90s, so I don't know.
I like Gary Oldman though.
Yeah.
And what would your favorite music be? Type of music or favorite band or
So I have like two all-time favorite artists who are
Mhm.
pretty different, but there's more of an overlap than you would think. Number one is Fall Out Boy, and number two is Post Malone.
Okay,
And
yeah.
you can probably tell I've been waiting for a collab for years at this point, because
That'd
like
be cool.
he appeared in their music video for the song Champion, and then
Oh yeah,
he's mentioned them in his lyrics at least twice. And it's like, when are we gonna finally do this? I don't necessarily love the country music direction that he's taken. Like, I'm a rap fan ultimately, even
yeah.
though Fall Out Boy, like, I liked Fall Out Boy as a teen, and then their music kind of evolved again to my taste as I was growing up. So it's something that I've liked throughout my like whole conscious life. Um, but with Post Malone, like I liked his rap era a lot. That's my favorite. And then I kind of followed him to the pop era. And I think I might have to draw the line at country, but we'll see.
Hey, I don't mind his. I love Jelly Roll, so I don't mind his
Okay.
connection with Jelly Roll.
He's touring or he's going to tour with Jelly Roll actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I, I don't mind that, but yeah, country I can give or take it.
Yeah, not really my
Um,
thing, but that's okay.
so this is gonna be a hard question for you, knowing how much you
Okay.
like it. What's your favorite food?
Oh man. I think again, this question I can only answer is like current favorite.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's like a pretty solid favorite to have actually. Dumplings, like Chinese dumplings.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That's like soup dumplings or like spicy wontons or like, but then Russian cuisine also has dumplings. So
Yep.
I like those as well. So it's a good like umbrella answer because I think almost every culture has like some sort of like a protein wrapped in a dough kind of
Yep.
situation, and it's stellar every time.
That's good. And two more. Well, one more. Do you have any pets and what is your favorite animal?
I don't have any pets currently. I used to have a dog, like our family
Mhm.
dog, who was a Labrador and who was the light of my life. Like I think, like if I've ever loved anything more than wrestling, it would have been that dog. Um, but I'm a big dog person. I'm not a cat person, for various reasons. I'm allergic to cats, but also I don't really like
Well,
their temper. Like I don't really like their dynamic with humans. So big dog person. Like all kinds of dogs. I like anything from a Chihuahua to a Staffordshire Terrier. Like any kind of dog I like. Um, I also enjoy sharks, but more from like a learning standpoint. I think like I wouldn't want to run into one necessarily.
mm,
um at least not like uninvited, like you know what I mean, unwarranted. Like maybe I would like, I do have this weird like dream almost of like seeing a really large sea creature like in their natural habitat, but then I feel like if that did happen to me I would just never go in the water again. So this has to happen when I'm like really old so that at this point I can be like, okay, I'm done with the ocean forever. um
yeah.
but yeah, those, yeah, dogs, sharks. My recent favorite have been hyraxes, which is apparently the closest relative of an elephant.
Oh, really?
Doesn't look like it. Looks like a huge feral hamster, which is exactly what I enjoy about that.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, you should Google it. They look crazy. They look like vampire hamsters. So,
That's cool. It's funny you said shark because I interviewed the wrestler Alexia Nicole and she said manatee.
oh,
And
that's a great answer too. I love
I
that.
was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that.
No, is she from Florida?
She's in Canada.
Oh, okay. Because if she was from Florida, that would be like a very logical answer.
Yeah, yeah.
We have those here apparently. There's also like a rehab center for them, one in Jacksonville and the other one in Fort Pierce, I think. So
Okay.
you can, you can come see them, and they're very nice and peaceful and cute and everything. And they have no natural predators outside of humans,
Yeah.
obviously. So they're very chill and friendly.
They are cute. I just did I was expecting like a dog or a tiger or something. And then when she said that, I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. And then you
I mean,
said
I
shark.
I did go like the normal route first with the dogs, and then I had to throw a shark in. So
Sharks are pretty cool, but you're right. I wouldn't want to mess with one.
I have a favorite kind of shark too. I like hammerhead sharks.
Oh, those are really cool looking.
Yeah. Like if someone
Yeah,
asked me to like list off my favorite sharks, I would do that too. And I'm the same with food too. I'm like I have a list of like favorite kind of mushroom or like favorite kind of cheese, favorite kind of soup. Like I'm very like deep into the things that I really like.
you and my sister Sarah would have got along. She was a
Yeah.
huge foodie. She couldn't eat much because of her
Right.
muscular dystrophy, but man, she loved food. We used to joke all the time because it was like, you barely eat, but you want all this stuff. But yeah, it's good. So ending this, are there any socials or plugs you want to plug?
Yes, absolutely. I'm xeniadidthat. That's Xenia on every social media, X, Instagram, YouTube. And I do media guidance for wrestlers, wrestling promotion, strategic media guidance. There's a free webinar that you can attend every Monday at 2 p.m. ET. There's a link to sign up in all of my socials and all of my bios. And I do personal media guidance. You can either check out the seminar first, or if you know that you're in need of growing your audience, establishing your brand, boosting your income, you can schedule a call with me. There's also a link, or you can DM me or email me and schedule a discovery call. The first call is always free, where we look at your goals, analyze what's going on, and develop then a customized strategy to grow your online presence and monetize it. Because a lot of wrestlers right now are leaving so much money on the table by
Mhm.
only thinking that their job is to wrestle between the ropes. That's only 10% of their job, and they're leaving 90% of their potential income on the table. And I'm here to help them not do that and help them scale their presence and become the superstar that they deserve to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And everybody check out everything she's doing. I'll have the socials in the description below too. And thank you for watching. Well, that was the interview. Bobbo's World Interviews was Xenia. Xenia did that on all the social media platforms. Thank you again to her for doing this interview. She took a chance on me, like a couple other people, and said yes. And I'm a nobody right now. So it's really cool that these people are saying yes to me and helping out. I really appreciate her. Everything in that interview is really cool, but the biggest thing to me is her inclusion mindset. Like I said in the interview, I had a sister that had a disability, muscular dystrophy, that passed away, and I there was so many times where like we were at dinner and a waiter or waitress would ask me what she wanted, and because they saw the wheelchair or stuff like that really bothered me. So I'm glad that she's doing her part in trying to bring positivity and inclusion to everything, including wrestling. And her journey throughout this whole thing, commentating, managing all that stuff with wrestling. She's been at some of the biggest shows ever, and Yeah, she's really cool. I really like her. I hope we continue to connect and see where it goes from there. And hopefully, she can help me and I can help her. And if you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Hit that bell icon so you know when the next video is going to happen. And we're going to have our online auction on April 12th from 1 to 5 p.m. Central Time. That's 1 to 5 p.m. Central Time because I'm in New Orleans. And we have everything. We have stuff from Xenia. Thank you for her to do that. She posted on a reel about it, so go check that out. Again, Xenia did that. All her socials be below. But yeah, we have something from the Celtics. We have something from the Bruins. We have a Dallas Stars signed puck. We have Donovan Dijak signed pitcher. We have an ML Carr signed pitcher. So we have a very eclectic collection. So go to sweets80.org or subscribe here to Bobbo's World on YouTube and come on April 12th, Saturday, April 12th from 1 to 5 p.m. Central. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.